Climate experts in the country have called for improved climate financing from government and international groups to mitigate the devastation caused by climate change in the country. They make this known during an event to mark the second National Conference on Climate Change in Abuja, organized by Corporate Accountability and Public Participation Africa. The event, which had panel discussions, had participants from across the country brainstorming on how to check the potential devastation and suggested ways funding could help reduce the threat. Speaking at the event, Executive Director of Corporate Accountability and Public Participation Africa, CAPPA, Akinbode Oluwafemi, expressed worry over reports by Nigeria Hydrological Services Agency of potential flooding in over 100 local government areas of the country. Participants said there is an urgent need to mobilize funding for projects that improve the resilience of communities and ecosystems.
2 states of our 36 states, including the FCT, fall within the very highly probable flood areas. According to that agency, 830 kilometers of coastline areas and communities in Nigeria are increasingly threatened by floods, erosion, or direct erosion. Communities in the Niger Delta, bordering the Atlantic Ocean, have continued to lose fears because they are losing homes, farmlands due to erosion, eroding bedrocks, shielding their shoreline. In another part of Nigeria, the saturation is encroaching on arable lands, affecting roughly 580,000 square kilometers of 927 square kilometers. About 62 million Nigerians are now directly or indirectly impacted. Climate fluctuations, deforestation, extensive cultivation, overgrazing, marginal land use, bushfires, firewood harvesting, faulty irrigation system, urbanization are all contributing factors to some of this, including our extraction of hydrocarbons, which is the major activity in Nigeria. Unfortunately, climate financing in our country has relied exclusively on concessional debt. Grant and equity-based finance currently play very relative minimal role in the climate finance ecosystem. And our country continues to remain vulnerable. Efforts in adaptation and mitigation are yet to be scaled up significantly to embrace our current realities. Nigeria, like every other country in Sub-Saharan Africa, is classed as very, very vulnerable to climate risk. And this will accelerate over the coming years unless progressed climate finance, well-structured, loss and damage mechanisms are institutionalized and appropriately and effectively managed. We need to say this again, that we need a much more structured, organized, people-focused, community-focused climate financing.
To allow robust deliberation on joint climate change priorities, considering the realities at the front line. Many times we have seen a very wide disconnect between happenings at the front lines and policy direction of government. So we intend to create that dialogue between the policies and the impact at the front line. Number 2, the conference will weigh the efficiency or otherwise of government policies and measures to mitigate and build resilience against climate crisis. Here, we also determine the stance of government to tap considerable funds, concessionary as it is, or through statutory budgetary provision to finance climate action. Luckily, as I did mention, the Climate Change Act has provision for carbon funding. So we have to look critically into this provision and how to maximize its profits or advantage as the case may be.
The devastating impacts of climate change, including extreme weather events and ecological disruptions. As we confront these challenges, we must recognize that addressing climate change is not solely an environmental concern. It is an economic, social, and moral imperative. imperative that demands coordinated and collective action. This is the participants. In the pursuit of the sustainable climate issue, financing plays a pivotal role. We must explore avenues for mobilizing financial resources to implement mitigation and adaptation measures. These resources should be directed towards projects that not only reduce our carbon footprint, but also enhance the resilience of our communities and ecosystems.
Global warming is real and human caused and continues to lead to large-scale climate change. So when you see skeptics talking about this, these skeptics are sponsored people. What has not been happening to us before is happening to us now. So we should be asking ourselves questions. In 2022, almost all of us here, if you are not directly impacted by the flood, you are indirectly impacted by those floods. So how can we deny the truth of what is on ground? 2, the impact of climate change is becoming more frequent and more intense and resulting in more damage and loss of lives. 3, among the direct and indirect consequences of climate change, which continues to dawn on humanity on a daily basis, are destruction of livelihood, spread of diseases, destruction of ecosystem, deepening conflict as a result of diminishing resources, destruction of critical infrastructure, loss of cultural heritage and indigenous knowledge, forced displacement of human population, and diminution of basic standards of living. 4, climate risks are multidimensional and cover a range of geophysical, social, and economic issues. They are also pervasive and systemic. 5, the threat of climate change is accelerating, thus the rising momentum and urgency for action for a low-carbon, more resource-efficient, and sustainable economy.